I'm thrilled with today's guest, certainly a man in the news, former governor of New York State, Andrew Cuomo. He is obviously running for mayor of New York City right now. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Don. Good to be with you.
So I was kind of taken, I was actually impressed with it, that you kind of, after you lost in the primary, you kind of came out with a video that basically said, I didn't run a good campaign. I apologize that I'm going to get it right this time. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I was surprised on election night, obviously. I didn't see that outcome coming. And, we're New Yorkers, just be straight. And I did lose, and I congratulated him. And the truth is, in retrospect, I didn't run as good a campaign as I should have run. And, my grandfather used to say, you get knocked on your tuchus, as they would say in Italian. And you dust yourself off, you learn the lesson, and you get up and you get back in the game.
What was the lesson? What was the lesson?
We made, in retrospect, and again, Monday morning quarterback, right? You'd never lose a game. But the under 30 group, I did not communicate with enough. Social media, we did not do enough. And there was an intensity, Donnie, on this under 30 group that was really unexpected. There was an explosion of the under 30 vote. That's why all the polls had it wrong. They voted like 3 times the norm. And this was basically a microcosm of what's going on across the country. You have that far right MAGA movement, and I think there's a corresponding far left movement. I don't think either, frankly, is productive for the country. But that far left, we're socialists, which is you've been seeing cropping up all across the country, and that's what you saw in this election. You saw an under 30 explosion, very animated, very energized. Basically, anti-Trump was the initial energy, and they are now socialists and want dramatic change.
Yeah, we'll talk national for a second. I've been very outspoken about this. If the Democrats think that the answer is lurching left and they become the party of AOC, they will never win another general election. You have to look at Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey, or she hasn't run yet, but then you look at Ruben Gallego, you look at Elizabeth Slotkin. These are the candidates that win in general elections in battleground states. And the Democrats, I'm afraid, are very taken with the whiff of this new hard left, and it's a disaster waiting to happen.
100% right. The riddle is the far left wins in a primary, right?
Yes.
The way the far right, when there was the Tea Party, right? The Tea Party ruled the Republican Party, took them far right, did a lot of damage to the party, went on for like 10 years, because you would lose in the primary if you were opposed by the Tea Party. We have the parallel in the Democratic Party right now. Primary, you have a small turnout, highly energized activists vote in the primary. Our primary is in June. Nobody's coming out to vote in June, right? And it's this under 30, very far left socialist movement, and they govern the primaries. Now, it's a totally different ball game in November, right? It's a general election. More people come out to vote, more moderate Democrats, older people, older Democrats, independents, Republicans. But the tension is both for the right and the left. They will beat you in the primary if you are not radical enough.
Yeah, that's a problem. So you mentioned Trump, and one mistake the Democrats made was just running against Trump. You can't just run against something. You have to stand for something. Obviously, you're going to take the gloves off with Mandami. You start to do it already. We'll get to him in a few minutes. But tell me what you're going to do for the city.
Look, the city, we have issues in the city. Everyone knows it. Everybody feels it. You're on the street. Everybody's talking about it. It's visible. It's palpable. You feel it in your chest, right? When you're walking down the street, you feel the anxiety. But there is nothing here, Donnie, that is insurmountable. That's the great irony of where we are in New York City. Our politics has been askew. Our government has been incompetent. But we can do this, right? I actually think there's a window of opportunity for New York City to be the best city in the country very quickly because urban areas all across the country are faltering, right? LA, Chicago, San Francisco. Just clean up your own act. Public safety. Hire more police officers. Forget this defund the police madness that we went through, driven by the far left in New York City. Hire more police. My proposal is 5,000 police, brings you back to where you were in the Dinkins Giuliani administration. Get the mentally ill who are dangerous off the streets. It's not rocket science. They were never there before. I get the whole civil liberties argument, but you're not doing anybody a service. And get businesses coming back to New York. Don't be the enemy of business. Business is jobs, it's opportunity, it makes the whole machine run, right? So these are all very doable things. Affordable housing, build more housing, you know? It's not rocket science. We're not building bridges or airports. This is the simplest type of construction. I built affordable housing, I was in my 20s. So it's that basic government incompetence compounded by this politics of the left that has been dominant in these urban areas, which was defund the police, anti-business. Here in New York, they stopped the Amazon project that I worked for a year to bring.
Cost 150,000 jobs. I
Oh,
mean,
great,
just stunning,
great.
stunning. So, talking about housing, one thing Mandami has come out with, and most people who understand real estate understand why this is a non-starter, is to freeze rent stabilized apartments. And talk to me about what that would actually do to affordable housing. And as I see it, in every commercial real estate guy, a residential real estate guy, it's going to make it more scarce because landlords are going to stop putting money into buildings. They're going to stop building buildings, and it's a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, look, he has great 3 word slogans for everything, right? All these really complicated problems, he gets down to 3 words, but it is a fraud. Freeze the rent. Oh, great. As you pointed out, first of all, it only applies to rent stabilized units, which is about 44% of the rental units we have, 28% of the housing units overall. And when you freeze the rent, de Blasio did this. It is at best a short term measure, and it has a corresponding negative effect because what the landlords say is, well, then I'm not going to invest in fixing the building. I'm not going to do maintenance. I'm not going to do repairs. You have some buildings that could tip into foreclosure because the landlord is not going to subsidize the building, right? Costs are going up, my taxes are going up, utilities are going up, and you're going to freeze the rent. So you have foreclosure as the worst case scenario. And the real estate development community gets paralyzed. And they say, I'm not investing in New York City real estate. I'll go to some other state because I don't want to build a building in an environment, a jurisdiction that is then going to freeze the rent, which makes the units themselves financially impossible. So, yeah, freeze the rent. Sounds great. Only for rent stabilized, which is only 44% of the units. And it actually will have a net negative effect. The real answer, which is sort of boring and complex, is you have to build tens and hundreds of thousands of more units. You have a 1% vacancy rate in New York City. You are in a housing emergency up until 5% vacancy rate because 1%, there's no supply and demand, right? And the standard is below 5, you're in a housing emergency. So you have to increase supply dramatically, which means government has to work. It has to work quickly, efficiently, effectively. And that's what hasn't happened. In New York City, it can take you 4 years to get a building permit, Donnie. I got LaGuardia Airport built in 4 years, right? And that time delay and the confusion and the bureaucracy is all an impediment to building.
You know, if I was on your team, I would say one of the things your advantage is actually a disadvantage. Your advantage is you have a lot of experience. You've done things. You've done a lot of things. Mandami gets to run on new, blank page. Hope and change, hope and change, hope and change. How do you turn that? If I was on your team, I'd say you've got to turn that upside down somehow.
Well, you have to expose the fraud of the promise, right? Freeze the rent, fast free buses, grocery stores. How are we going to get down the price of groceries? One grocery store in each borough. How does that work? So Queens has one grocery store. Everyone can go shop there. It's going to be run by New York City government, which can't fill a pothole. Now they're going to go into the grocery store business. What? But you are right. As a slogan, it sounds great. And you're also right that to the experience, I'm sort of more responsible in what I'll say. I won't say something that I know is impossible or I know is untrue. He is unfettered by reality. He will just say whatever sounds good, whatever 3 words make the crowd smile and make social media work. So you're right. My argument is to slow them down and question them. But I'll tell you something. New Yorkers, they have a great gut. Everything free. Nothing is free. There is no free lunch, right? If it sounds too good to be true, it isn't. New Yorkers get it. They didn't get it in the primary because partially they weren't really paying attention, frankly. But the more time I have a chance to make my case and just peel the onion, if you will, they know there's no there. And that's my challenge, to expose that through the campaign.
So Jewish New Yorkers are terrified. They're terrified that there's a guy who's running who he's walked it back a little bit. He will not condemn globalizing the Intifada. He said he will dissuade people from using it. Other instances that are concerning, he won't acknowledge that Israel should be a Jewish state. Do you think your competitor, Mandami, is an anti-Semite?
Anti-Semite, Donnie, I have to be able to look into your soul, right? Is the person a bigot? Is the person an anti-Semite? Is the person a racist? That takes a higher authority. I can tell you this. He is fueling anti-Semitism. And these recent moderations he's made, I wouldn't believe them for a second, right? Maya Angelou. When somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time. The Sicilians, Southern Italians had an expression. You knew who they were when you married them, right? You know the truth about a person. He told you the truth. He told you that Palestine is the core of who he is and what he believes. He has been pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel for years. He has been pro-Hamas. He glorifies Hamas. Even when you push the heck out of him on globalized intifada, which means kill Jewish people.
Yes, it does.
All he would say is, I will discourage the use of the term. What the heck does that mean? That's like a wink and a nod. I'll discourage the use. You really shouldn't say that. Condemn it. Condemn it. It's hateful. It's anti-Semitic. It's exactly opposite who we are in New York City. We're about tolerance. We're about acceptance. We're about making one community out of people all across the globe. And you're going to fuel this growing anti-Semitism. We have more anti-Semitic acts in New York City than anywhere in the United States. We have the largest Jewish population outside of Israel. And you're going to discourage use of the term? Give me a break. It's disgusting.
While we're on the topic, we'll lift it up 10,000 feet to global issues. Jews are paying the price a lot right now with anti-Semitism for what's going on in Israel. There's a lot of, what people see on TikTok all day long. Is people getting blown up over there? And what's happening with Jewish people is they're getting torn. There are those that unconditionally we stand by Israel, whatever it is, and there are those that say, "Look, I stand with Israel, but I don't like a lot of things the government are doing." How do you parse that?
That is a great question. And that is the nuance that has been lost in this entire conversation. The under 30 crowd, they who that voted, they are socialists, but they're also pro-Palestinian, and they will say they're anti-Israel. Now, they don't consider anti-Israel anti-Semitic. They think anti-Israel is okay because they're saying I'm anti-Israel government policies, right? I'm anti-Bibi. I'm anti-military strategy. And I think Israel is being hyper aggressive. But those distinctions aren't made, right? And it gets blurred. And the easiest way to say it is anti Semitism, right? Blame the Jewish people in New York because you oppose the actions of the Israel government and the prime minister, which is wholly unfair. You know, you want to oppose Bibi Netanyahu and you want to say he's over aggressive. That's one conversation. That is not a justification in any way for condemnation of Jewish people writ large or Jewish New Yorkers. But that's what's happening.
So Jewish New Yorkers, as I said earlier, are very worried about Mandami. What would you do to make New York Jews safer or Jews safer if you become mayor?
Look, this has always been a delicate, fragile balance, New York City, right? You have 180 languages spoken in our school system. You have to work very hard to keep the diversity a positive and not a negative.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things you have to do is have zero tolerance for any hostility, any discrimination, any hateful speech, any hate crimes. I passed the most aggressive hate crime law in the United States, whether it's anti Black or whether it's anti Chinese during the COVID virus or anti Asian or anti Semitic. No tolerance. I passed the strongest hate crimes law. I set up a special unit in the state police to investigate hate crimes. They searched the internet for hate speech. And then you prosecute it. You know, when they had these demonstrations on Columbia right from the get go on college campuses that were actually impeding Jewish students from going to class, harassing Jewish students, that's not a First Amendment right. That's a crime. And they should have been prosecuted. But because everybody was afraid of the politics, the prosecutors didn't prosecute. Everybody got a slap on the wrist and went home. And that allowed it to spread. I would use the full extent of the laws and prosecute it as a hate crime. It's just zero tolerance.
That's it.
First
Amen.
Amendment, God bless. But you have no right to harass anyone, destroy public property, destroy private property, kick down the doors of Grand Central Station. No, that's a crime, Donnie. And now you go to jail. And now you have your nice diploma that says Columbia University, NYU, with a little asterisk that says, yeah, and convicted of XYZ.
Does it piss you off that you're ahead in the polls and some people are still saying, "Oh, Andrew, you should drop out of the race. Anybody but Mandami. We can't have a socialist. And if you love this city, you would take yourself out." I know you well enough to know that's got to piss you off.
What's annoying is it is wholly irrational, right? The rational approach, because people are petrified about Mamdani. Okay, the rational approach is what Governor Patterson called for and other senior Democrats. Let the strongest candidate go forward and the other candidates defer. Why? Because in a multi candidate field, Mamdani wins. That's clear. And if Adams and Walden and I run, Mamdani wins. So let the stronger candidate run and the others defer. If you, it's inarguable. If you care about the city and you believe Mamdani is the existential threat that you say he is, put your ego aside and put the stronger candidate forward. I agreed to that. I took that pledge. If there's a stronger candidate than me, come mid September when this gets serious, God bless, I'll step aside.
So is there a date? Is there an actual date that you've said is September 30th, September 15th, that whoever's in charge, if you're not the leading guy, you'll step out?
The Governor Patterson, who's like the senior Democrat in many ways, uh, said mid September, because mid September you're about a month from early voting, right? And that's when you would have to start to consolidate and get serious. So mid September is like the end point where you would really have to start to consolidate support. And if Eric Adams is stronger than I am, I will defer. But the inverse should also be true. If I'm the stronger candidate, then put your ego aside and defer to me.
In the recent, I think it was a Harris poll, head to head, just one on one, you beat Mandami handily by 15 points, and Adams loses.
Yes, yes. I believe I beat Mamdani head to head. Democrats are not socialists, right? And when you get to the general with a larger population, that number of under 30 explosion becomes diluted, right? And you have people in Queens and Brooklyn and more moderate people voting, and uh, they don't fall for the 3 word slogans the way some others do. So every poll says I'm the strongest against Mamdani. Many have me beating Mamdani 1-on-1. Eric Adams, remember, he was unelectable, Donnie, back in April, before any charges were brought against the mayor, before Trump made that deal with the mayor. He was unelectable back then because of his management of the city, people feeling about the direction of the city, the number of corruption cases he's had throughout his administration. So he was unelectable back then. Then they brought charges against him. And then he made that deal with Trump, which was alienated all Democrats, right? Because that deal with Trump was not a pardon. That was a deal where Trump drops the charges so Adams can cooperate with his administration and Trump can bring back the charges, i.e., if Adams is not cooperative enough. And that's when Adams pledges allegiance to the flag of Trump, right?
Which
That,
which concerns me, because you and I both know Trump secretly wants Mandami to win. He's kind of come out and said positive things about you, but he wants to run against the Democrats as the party of Mandami and the party of AOC. So he's going to say to Adams, hey, buddy, you stay in there. Don't get out there. That's my theory, and that I don't see Adams leaving for that reason.
here's the flip side. If Adams or me uh, is the spoiler in this race and stays in this race and keeps the other person from beating Mamdani, that person better leave not just the city, but the state of New York very quickly, right? That's how strong passions are. You can't just be a spoiler for your own ego or your own political deal.
So what happens? You're going to be ahead of Adams. You're polling way ahead of him in a multi-candidate race. And what happens come end of September? You're still ahead. Adams says, I'm not going. You just said, look, multiple candidates we can't beat. What do?
You do everything you can You make it clear to the public that with Adams staying in the race, he's just a spoiler and the car is going to go off the cliff. And, I don't believe at the end of the day Adams would do that. I would not do that. Where you know how devastating Mamdani can be for the city. I don't think the city would recover for 15 years post the Mamdani
What does
administration.
that look like? Talk about that. What does the city look like with Mandami running it?
Uh, you would have, in actuality, I believe he would be wholly ineffective because nothing he says he wants to do, he could actually do. But just by incompetence, you can do a lot of damage. Uh, and the rhetoric is damning. He is anti-business, anti-corporation. He's anti-capitalist. He's anti-police. He says the police are racist, and he would dismantle the police. He would deconstruct the jail system, whatever that means. And everything is free, and we raise the taxes on the millionaires. Yeah, except you wouldn't have a millionaire left, right? There's no concept of a socialist city existing in a capitalist state and a capitalist country. It wouldn't work because people would leave, right? Uh, we already have the highest taxes in the United States of America. You're going to stay as a millionaire, which, by the way, a millionaire, I know in the old days, you say a person's
Yeah,
millionaire,
yeah,
it's, like saying they're a billionaire. But
yeah.
cost of living in the city, there are a lot of millionaires. You raise the taxes on the millionaires, they're already leaving, Donnie. The exodus from New York City of wealthy people is damning. And there would be a line at the airport to leave New York. And remember, our tax code, and I did this, is one of the most progressive in the United States, meaning the top 5% of taxpayers, the wealthiest 5%, pay like 50% of the taxes. So the top 100 people, 200 people leave, you have a problem. The tax code is that heavily weighed. And again, they're already leaving, and there would be an exodus. I think public safety would suffer. The business community would suffer. Who would locate a business or expand the business when you have this mayor who was openly anti-business?
You said earlier that he's got simplistic messages, which you punch holes in, but is from a media point of view is obviously good. Affordability, affordability, affordability. I would suggest if I was on your team, take that word and turn it upside down and say, we can't afford Mandami, that we can't afford to not be safe. We can't afford to have a defunded police. We can't afford to have crime on the streets. We can't afford it. So turn it upside down and make it very much about safety and feeling safe in New York.
That's why you're the best at what you do. That's a great idea. That is a
That,
great idea.
that one's free. Now that's I mean, really just you turn it upside down. You got to my other advice is you got to take the gloves off. If something you need to start to hit a nerve, the problem you have is that you're experienced and that's working against you in a weird way. And you have to kind of just show them the street fighter that you've always tried to kind of temper a little bit. I think you got to let loose now and let it rip. That's just the other cheap advice also.
Well, that is the great irony in this situation, right? Uh, the Monday Morning Quarterback Report will say Cuomo wasn't aggressive enough.
Yeah.
All my life, I'm too aggressive, too combative, right? Too
Yeah.
Queens, too street, too tough. Now I wasn't aggressive enough. And in some ways, that's true because every piece of data we had, I was ahead 15 points, right? So when you're ahead 15 points,
You play it
you
safe.
run the
Yeah.
ball, you don't
Yeah.
pass,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
Uh,
you run out the clock. Yeah.
that's right. That's right. And that was this, and the differential was this historic explosion of this under 30 vote that all went for him. And again, it was socialism, but it was pro-Palestinian.
It was also, frankly, and it's youth. They see a candidate that's, oh wow, this guy's our age. This guy's 33 years old. So that's a real challenge for you, the youth vote. I mean, obviously you cut across a lot of constituencies. That's going to be. I wouldn't over focus on that because that's a real uphill battle. I would more focus on the other constituencies, turning them out, your base, pro business, the black community, traditionally kind of Cuomo strongholds. Make sure they come out.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And there is an attraction, generational attraction for him there. There's no doubt about that. But what was amazing was the percentage of turnout.
Yeah.
People who never voted before, under 30 in a primary, never voted before. They weren't even on the rolls. And they just came out at like 4 times the voting rate of everybody else. It was also 105 degrees that day. So,
Yeah.
like if who would go out and vote at 105 degrees?
Unless you're under 30 years old.
That's right.
Governor Cuomo, I know how busy you are. I really appreciate your time.
It's always good to be with you, Donnie. Thank you. Thank you for what you do.
Stay safe, friend.
You too.
Everybody, thanks for watching. If you like it, hit that subscribe button. And we love having you here watching On Brand. And just don't miss any future episodes. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.